So, second core technique is the edge of hand blow. And this is using the area between your pinky finger and the base of your hand. Although in reality, it can encompass everything from here all the way down to the bottom of the elbow, depending on how close you are to the opponent. It's a big weapon here. It's a big, hard-edged, instinctive weapon. And we've got a couple of ways in which we deploy it. So we're using this particular edge here. Now, historically, people had the thumb flagged, which is the thumb up here, which does add some tenseness to the hand, makes it a bit tighter. But in reality, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. So if you feel more comfortable thumb down, that's absolutely fine. Efficacy is king. If it works, no one can complain. I doubt Fairbairn would mind as long as you got the job done. So edge of hand blow. And there's two core differences. We're going to first look at the horizontal edge of hand blow. So we're going to move from left to right or from right to left depending on our hand. So we're going to move either diagonally or horizontally across this axis. Now, core point about this is you need some torque in the body ready to go. This is not a technique where me and Chris are facing each other and we chop out with elbow power. So I need to position myself a little bit off so there is a bit of winding in my hips. So for example, I might feign an injury, I might cough, I might pretend not to be able to hear. That turns my body so that I can explode with the hips here, like so. I explode with the hips and my mass is driving towards Chris here. So I can step. If we're a bit closer, I can just twist. If I'm a little bit further away, I can step and twist. But it's all about that explosive energy. I explain it like pulling a stubborn chainsaw. You're ripping that chainsaw. You know, you're not gently pulling the chainsaw, you're ripping it out to make sure that chainsaw starts. So again, depending on where your body is, so the threat could come from the side. In a World War II context, you could be filling out papers, you could be typing, you could be doing other stuff. The threat stimuli comes from here, so my body is naturally already inclined to rip out. You'll also note that because I've turned my hips and my shoulders, my secondary hand now is ready to do something else, whether that's a tiger claw, punch, a push, a stab. It's ready to follow through. But what we're doing is we're ripping out from the shoulder, turning the hip, turning the foot, so everything turns here, step and turn, or just rapidly explode it. So that is a horizontal. If you're a little bit bigger than the opponent, sometimes it turns a little bit diagonal. So if I was much taller than Chris, it may well turn into a diagonal strike shot. But in the main, they come across the horizontal plane. Now, some targets for this to think about. So primary target would be the trachea, in here, right into the windpipe. You want to crush this area, make it hard for him to breathe, hard for him to see, hard for him to talk. Everything is a lot more difficult once you've crushed that area. Now, if the situation allows for it, you may also go for the temple, although this comes at higher risk of missing or bouncing off. You can go for the carotid arteries on the side of the neck, bang. The problem with these is there's quite strong muscles on the side of the neck. So whilst it can drop an opponent and it can interfere with blood pressure, it can drop people, a much weaker area that has no muscular support is right into that trachea. Wow! So if you've only got a little bit of time to learn, like they had in World War II, thinking this as a primary target is really important. There's also a matter of range, in that I can do it very short and explode, but you notice my hip, just because I can't step, my hip still turns and my foot still turns. Wow! And all of my intention and intensity is into him. If we're a bit further away, wham, I can still make the technique work. The arm just goes a little bit longer. Things to think about as well with this is that the stimuli might come from behind. So I might get a shove or a grab from behind, in which case my body's already torqued. If Chris is a bit closer to me, he might cop the elbow. If he's a bit further away, the forearm. And if he's at the perfect Goldilocks distance, he'll get the edge of hand. But either way, I rock this round with force. And it's important that my shoulder's raised, because in this instance, if what's in Chris's other hand is a punch going to my jaw, my shoulder's raised as I turn, it's okay, I'm covered. If what's coming is a sneaky strangle, my shoulder being raised makes that okay. So it keeps my jaw safe from knockouts, strangulations and stabbings. So from behind, the shoulder is the first thing to move, bam, and I'm onto him from here to do other stuff. So that shoulder is really important. If you don't know where the threat's coming from or what the stimuli is, I raise the shoulder, explode with force, and now I can face him, because Chris could be at 6 o'clock, he could be at 8 o'clock, he could be at 4 o'clock. So I could decide either hand, and it will go a huge arc. It will catch him at some point. Even if it doesn't catch him, by being very explosive, he'll move his head back, which puts me now on the offensive on the front foot, groin kicks, strikes, other stuff. So being venomous is important, especially if you don't know where they are. You need to give him some fear, some reason to doubt himself. Now another iteration of the edge of hand blow is vertical. Now this comes into play in a number of ways. The most common sense way for this to come into play is if, let's say, we've kneed Chris in the groin and we've dropped him down. Now we've got great targets on the back of the neck, into the kidneys. You know, you've got these targets available when he's on what we call the workbench position. You know, we've taken his structure, he's still a little bit strong. We're going to finish him off here, finish him off here. Yeah, that's an important thing to think about. You can do it directly face onto the opponent, but you need to have a drop in weight on here. And typically if we're going front on, it'll be the collarbone that we go for, right onto the collarbone. A good way to do this is to use both hands, however. So we drop and smash both edge of hand blows onto the collarbone. So again, the stimuli is here. I step and I drop. I drop the body weight. All of my mass goes into crushing this. Once I've done that, I can move into the eyes, into the throat, into the groin. I've got all those options. But that two-handed vertical edge of hand blow with a step, with a stomp, with dropping your weight. You can do it with a single hand. I'd recommend, if you are doing it with a single hand, you may wish for a clothing grab. So you might grab a bit of clothing here and smash it in there. So you've got a bit more purchase and control. Otherwise, double works just fine.